Hello everyone. This is the health news today. How often you wash your dog's bowl can affect your health, too, study says. By Kristen Rogers, CNN. How we feed our pets, store their food and wash their dishes can have negative health consequences if not done properly, for both humans and animals. There have been multiple outbreaks of illnesses among humans after exposure to E. coli and Salmonella contaminated dog food, which has been more likely in commercial and homemade raw food diets. These diets typically involve the need to prep pets' foods in the kitchen, according to a study published Wednesday in the journal PLOS One. But guidelines for how owners should safely handle pet food and dishes is limited, and their effectiveness is unclear, so the authors of the new study investigated dog owners' feeding habits and analyzed the impact of U.S. Food and Drug Administration hygiene protocols on dog food dish contamination. Sign up for CNN's Wonder Theory Science newsletter. Explore the universe with news on fascinating discoveries, scientific advancements and more. During casual conversations among veterinary nutritionists, we realized that, when it came to our own pets, we all had different pet food storage and hygiene practices, said Emily Luizona, a co-author of the study and small animal veterinary nutritionist. Once we realized that, FDA recommendations were relatively unknown even among professionals, we wanted to see what other pet owners were doing. Luizona is on the Veterinary Advisory Board for Tailored, a pet nutrition expert-led dog food company. Caitlin Getty, another co-author of the study, is the scientific affairs veterinarian for Nom Nom Now Incorporated, a company focused on pet gut health and suitable food. Neither company funded this study, and the authors didn't report any competing interests. The study's focus is owners' handling of any dog food, not the food brands themselves. Awareness versus action. The researchers found 4.7% of 417 surveyed dog owners were aware of the FDA's pet food handling and dish hygiene guidelines. 43% of participants stored dog food within 5 feet, 1.5 meters, of human food. 34% washed their hands after feeding and 33% prepared their dog food on prep surfaces intended for human use. 50 owners, of 68 dogs total, participated in a roughly 8-day bowl contamination experiment. The authors swabbed the bowls for bacterial populations, which are known as aerobic plate counts, then split owners into 3 groups. Group A followed the FDA's tips, which included washing their hands before and after handling pet food, not using the bowl to scoop food, washing the bowl and scooping utensils with soap and hot water after use, discarding uneaten food in a designated manner, and storing dry pet food in its original bag. Group B had to follow FDA food handling tips for both pets and humans, which also required hand washing for at least 20 seconds with soap and warm water, scraping food off dishes before washing, washing dishes with soap and water hotter than 160 degrees Fahrenheit, 71 C, for at least 30 seconds, drying thoroughly with a clean towel, or using a National Sanitation Foundation certified dishwasher for washing and drying. Group C wasn't given any instructions but was told when the second swabbing would happen. The practices followed by Groups A and B led to significant decreases in food dish contamination, compared with Group C, the study found. Dishes washed with hot water or a dishwasher had a decrease of 1.5 units on the contamination scale compared with those washed with cold or lukewarm water. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's cleaning and sanitization guidelines for human dishes are based on achieving a 5-log reduction in bacterial counts, the authors wrote. A 1.5 log reduction is equal to a 90% to 99% reduction in microorganisms. A 5-log reduction means 99.999% of microorganisms have been killed. The contamination of the bowls in Group C increased between swabbings. None of the Group C owners had washed their dogs' bowls within the 8 or so days since the authors collected the first bacterial sample, even though they were made aware that FDA guidelines existed and the bowl would be sampled again, Luizona said. This shows that bringing awareness of the current recommendations is not sufficient in itself, she added. Lowering contamination risk. The authors said they think this education is especially important for vulnerable populations, such as people who are immunocompromised. Pet food dishes have ranked highly among most contaminated household objects, sometimes even having bacterial loads close to those of toilets, according to studies published over the past 15 years. However, 20% of people from groups A and B in the current study said they were likely to follow hygiene instructions long term, and even fewer, 8%, said they were likely to follow all given guidelines. Our study shows that pet owners look to their veterinarian, pet food store and pet food manufacturers for information about pet food storage and hygiene guidelines, Luizona said. Pet food companies studying their foods in both laboratory conditions and household settings, then giving storage and handling recommendations on labels or websites, would be a strong start, she added. Further studies on implications are needed, but Luizona said she hopes pet owners and vets use this study's findings to consider the impact feeding hygiene could have on pets' health and happiness, immunocompromised people and zoonotic diseases, those spread between animals and people. You're probably handling your pet's food wrong, new study finds. Dog owners, beware, you're probably doing at least one thing wrong when it comes to handling your pet's food. Improper pet food handling could have serious implications for canine and human health, but most canine owners aren't aware they're even doing anything wrong, according to a study published Wednesday in the journal PLOS One. Pet owners should know that pet food bowls can harbor bacteria and that recommendations exist for minimizing that risk, Emily Luizona, the lead author of the study and a researcher at North Carolina State University's College of Veterinary Medicine, said in a press statement. What's new? According to the data, most dog owners are missing out on some pretty basic hygiene protocols when handling their pets' food. Only 4.7% of pet owners surveyed were aware of Food and Drug Administration, FDA's pet food handling guidelines. The FDA's guidelines include recommendations on how to safely store and prepare pet food, as well as hygiene protocols such as washing pet dishes, to minimize foodborne illnesses. For example, some FDA recommendations include storing dry pet food in a cool place, tightly covering refrigerated pet food, and washing and drying pet food utensils with soap and hot water after each use. You should also wash your hands with soap and hot water for at least 20 seconds before and after handling your pet's food. The guidelines also include recommendations on reporting issues with purchased pet food. You can read the full recommendations here. While 3/4 of owners did some things right, such as avoiding raw food and tightly covering leftover pet food, only 22% reported washing pet food dishes weekly. When participants did wash the food dishes, they most likely used warm soap and water or the dishwasher. Most alarmingly, only 34% of respondents washed their hands after handling the food. Nearly as shocking were the owners' food preparation and storage practices. Nearly 35% of dog owners said they prepared their dog's food on the same surface where they prepare food for human members of the household. More than 40% washed their pets' dishes in the same area as human dishes or stored their dog's food 5 feet or less from human food. Some of the participants followed FDA-approved hygiene protocols, but even then, only 8% of those dog owners said they were likely to follow through with the guidelines long term. Our findings confirmed that most pet owners are unaware that the FDA has pet food hygiene and storage recommendations, Luizona said. Why it matters. It might seem like a lot of fuss over kibble bowls, but as it turns out, improper handling of pet food could have serious health implications. For example, there have been multiple outbreaks of both humans and dogs becoming ill after exposure to dog food contaminated with pathogenic bacteria, write the study authors in the paper. Cross-contamination of dog bowls and human food surfaces, as well as irregular washing of hands and dishes, could lead to the transmission of dangerous bacteria such as Salmonella and E. coli. Younger children and immunocompromised individuals are particularly vulnerable to this bacteria. The study reported that 35% of respondents had immunocompromised individuals or children younger than 12 in their households. However, the researchers note that the risk of bacterial contamination goes down significantly when dog owners adhere to proper dishwashing protocols. The FDA recommends washing pet food bowls after each use, and washing water bowls daily. Wash your hands after feeding your pet. According to the study, washing with hot water greater than 160 F471.1 C reduced bacteria counts more than using cold water. This study suggests a need for pet food handling and dish hygiene guideline education to minimize bacterial contamination of dishes, especially for high-risk populations, write the study authors. How they made the discovery: Louisona's team recruited dog owners to participate in a survey regarding the handling of their pets' food. Ultimately, 417 pet owners participated in the survey. The researchers also collected data from swabs from more than 60 pet food dishes, performing what's known as an aerobic plate count, a scientific method to measure bacteria in a sample. Participants' samples were assigned into 3 groups, with Group A and B following the FDA pet food handling guidelines, while Group C did not adhere to any guidelines. Louisona explains why her team decided to study dog owners' knowledge of food handling protocols. As it turns out, many veterinarians were unaware of FDA recommendations on the topic. Once we realized that these recommendations were relatively unknown even among professionals, we wanted to see what other pet owners were doing, Louisona said. What's next? The findings may be alarming, but there is a productive way forward for dog owners to keep themselves and their pets safe. Since many owners reported that they would likely to their veterinarians and pet food stores for recommendations regarding food handling, the researchers suggest FDA guidelines be made available for dog owners to view in these locations and on their websites. Further studies could identify ideal cleaning and storage recommendations and suggest tips on communicating guidelines to pet owners. I hope this study makes pets happier and healthier, Louisona concludes. That's the end of the news. Thank you for your watching. Please subscribe, like and share videos. Have a nice weekend to all.